So if you get past the learning curve, 4X games are quite fun. The first time I played Rebuild, I had no idea what 4X games even were. And I'm fairly certain that that applies to 90% of the people who played it. Even now, my main experience with 4X comes from Civ 5. I've sunk hundreds of hours into that game. Yes, I know I'm just a beginner, but of the genre, Civ is one of the easier games to learn. It is a very complex genre, and I think the Rebuild games are a perfect intro to it. Start the game, I pick hard because it's the middle difficulty, and I named the city London because I think among developed nations, London would be a hard mode city. You have three main resources: people, food, and happiness. Food to live, keep the happiness high, or else events that will lower the other resources will happen, and the people to do tasks and gain stuff. There's a bunch of land to take back, most with various benefits. Farms to get food per turn, suburbs, apartments, and motels to increase the max amount of people you can get, schools to train people, hospitals to heal the injured, bars and churches to increase happiness, labs so you can research various benefits, and police stations and malls to increase defense. Some stuff like McDonald's, warehouses, and parking lots are useless and need to be replaced with something, and the graveyard is useless and can't be replaced. Your survivors can spec into 5 jobs: soldier, builder, leader, scientist, and scavenger. You can use the school to change between the jobs. There is no multitasking, and scavengers are completely useless. Leaders are good for recruiting other survivors. Builders are needed to quickly reclaim land and replace stuff. Scientists are good for researching stuff at the lab, and soldiers are going to be the vast majority of the survivors. There are also blank survivors. No specialties, they need to be trained at the school, or they can pick up jobs by doing them. Like if you keep sending the blank guy onto build missions, they will become a builder. Keep them on guard duty long enough and they will become a soldier. Once you start hitting endgame, everyone's gonna turn into a soldier or builder. You finish researching everything in the lab, and you convert all your scientists to soldiers as they have finished their purpose. Once you scout out the whole map, you train a mass amount of leaders and recruit everybody in this town. Then you retrain all of your leaders as there is nobody left to recruit. The only reason builders aren't converted to soldiers is that once everything is done being built, you have fully beat the game. The obvious reason why you need so many soldiers is that this is a zombie themed game. The base is constantly under attack from the surrounding zombies, and sometimes hordes of them will become randomly coordinated. The main threat of the entire game is that a random attack on the base could take a square or a survivor, which can snowball to us losing the entire city and make London a slightly worse place. On hard mode, for the majority of the time, every attack has a fair chance to take something from you. The main draw of the game is picking what resources you want to counteract future or current problems. This research tech can help us kill zombies better, reclaim the lab and get some scientists on it. You don't have scientists, so reclaim a school to train some people to be scientists. The school is far away, so it'll be faster to reclaim the McDonald's and replace it with a school. This is the main appeal of 4X games: short and long-term planning. I think a good point about Rebuild is that it is a relatively bite-sized 4X. Even quick Civ games can take up to like 5 hours. I have completed every endgame goal here in a large city in about an hour and a half. There are 4 endings you can get, each attached to a job, except Scavenger. Technically you have finished the game at any one of these endings, but you can keep playing after you do them, and 3 of them give you benefits for doing that. The Scientist ending is attached to the lab. The final thing you research is the cure for zombieism. Every time you do one of these end goals, hordes of zombies will start heading towards your base and won't stop until you finish. Curing zombies stop additional zombies from ever spawning, as the cure can apparently be distributed airborne to everybody. No more new zombies means that the zombie attacks on your base no longer scales upwards. Every zombie killed outside of your base is now a permanent lowering of the danger levels everywhere. The soldier ending is attached to one giant graveyard. Turns out while the zombies themselves seem to origin from a virus, the coordinated zombie hordes are for some reason magical in nature. There's a portal that needs to be closed and your soldiers somehow figure it out. This ending stops the zombie hordes from ever spawning again. The leader ending. I did this one last. You draft the constitution in a reclaimed town hall. It's a happiness boost. The builder ending is just reclaiming every square in the city. No extra benefits for you, so you can probably just consider this the true ending. I'm very much surprised that more games don't have this setting. The block by block city reclaiming is a cool concept, and you can have like non-zombie settings as well. Hell, a smaller scale 4X game is a pretty good idea. The majority of the genre is just empire builders, planet level or galactical. Anyway. Rebuild 2. Look, it's an ad for Dead Frontier. That was an interesting MMO. This game doesn't look that different at a glance, but there's a good amount of improvement here. Instead of just simple drawings, everybody is a randomly generated uncanny valley pseudo-human. The developer also got somebody to do some pretty appropriate art for a bunch of the scenarios, and it's generally a better UI. The music is also great. It is taken from somewhere else, yet the background music is the first thing that comes to my mind when I think of zombie music. Job classes are no longer a thing. They are now skill levels. A fighter can now also be a builder, a leader, and a scientist. And scavenging, besides the early game, is still quite useless. The skill levels max out at 10, and you gain them by either going to school or doing tasks related to them. Considering what the survivors do, the majority of your group is going to be fighters and builder mains. Items now exist. You start the game with one of your choice, and you can get more through trades and scavenging. This is the one use scavenging kind of has. Extra items for some more stats. You can also scavenge some pets, and that alone might be worth it for some people. There are some characters you can encounter now, all in text. A caravan trader who can buy your unused items or offer you some prostitutes for happiness. There is an event later into the game where you can sell off one of your female survivors to him for 2 rocket launchers. Rocket launchers sound cool as a teenager, and they are the items that give the most stats, but the cap is still at 10, and at that point in the game, every fighter is at or near that cap. There's also a gambler who, if you clean out, will give you his kitten as a pet. There's a friendly gang called the Rifts who may occasionally kill some surrounding zombies, and there's an unfriendly gang called the Last Judgment who will occasionally attack you and reduce resources from time to time. If you get a lab, a random doctor will force himself into it and kick everyone out, so get 2 labs, and a random survivor amongst your group may or may not start a cult. Overall though, it is a very much improved rebuilt one. Most of the struggle is in the early and mid game. Once you reach near the end, it's pretty systematic. Look at this perfectly straight line, it's so nice. The endings are kind of different, and some of them have more steps to them now. There are no scavenger ending. The builder ending doesn't need you to take over the whole town. You take over a helicopter pad, someone sabotages the helicopter, you decline using the gas as a flamethrower, you decline accusing a random person of sabotaging the helicopter, you decline an obvious zombie cure scam, you make somebody read a book on repairing helicopters, and you repair the copter. The helicopter being repaired scouts the entire town for you, so now you can see everything. You can also start a new game plus with this, where you send 5 of your survivors to another town, with maybe increased difficulty, and their items and increased skill levels intact. The leader ending is still just making a new constitution in the town hall you reclaimed, although this time you need a minimum amount of town blocks. Also a happiness boost. The fighter ending is to destroy the evil gang. You capture a subway and you send your guys on the attack. Completing this ending makes it so that they stop attacking you, and you gain 5 female survivors that they were apparently keeping as slaves. The scientist ending is still attached to the lab, but this time it's related to the random doctor that takes it over. He asks for an assistant, you give him one, his lab blows up, killing him and his assistant. You reclaim it, you translate the notes, it's a zombie cure, and you make the cure. Except for me, he just never died. Like, it blew up and everything, and we just lost some of the land. But he still lived. No matter how long I waited, he just wouldn't die. This ending is locked behind this man's death. I mean, I already reclaimed everything, but I would still like the cure. Okay, I'm just gonna look it up. There is also a bad ending. These were good games. It was, unknowingly to me, my introduction to the 4X genre. Looking it up, Rebuild 1 and 2 were mostly made by one person, Sarah Northway. She is still going. Rebuild 3 is on Steam right now, but it looks like the biggest game she has ever made so far is called Teenage Exocolonist, which looks very cozy and has its own cult following. You know, it's always a nice sight to see people that started making games in Flash just keep going in the game industry.